I went through a major depressive episode when I was 19, and God bless my mother, but the scariest thing to her was actually this bottle here. It used to be a bottle of Lexapro, which is a part of a class of drugs called SSRIs. And to her, like for a lot of people, it's scary, they're telling your daughter she's sad, she needs to take these pills, we don't know what these pills do. And I'm here to explain it. So, first of all, what exactly are SSRIs? As you can kind of tell from that little anecdote there, SSRIs are, again, a commonly prescribed class of drugs when someone's going through a major depressive episode or clinical depression. But again, what's an SSRI? So, SSRI stands for Selective Serotonin Reuptake Inhibitor. It's a pretty long string of words there, which is why it's usually just called SSRI. But to explain it, we're going to break it down word by word. So, selective serotonin. Selective serotonin means what the drug itself is targeting. Here, it is selecting for serotonin. Now, what is serotonin? Serotonin is a special communicator in the body called a neurotransmitter. Neuro, meaning that it works through the nervous system, and transmitter, meaning that it's moving, it's transmitting through the nervous system. And RI, reuptake inhibitor. This shows us how the drug functions on serotonin. In this case, it's preventing serotonin from being reuptaken. But what does that mean? Where is it coming from? Where is it going? And I'm going to explain that next. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter. And again, neurotransmitters are the chemical messengers of the nervous system. Neurotransmitters are responsible for a lot of things on how we feel. For example, a very popular one is dopamine. Dopamine is the reason why you might like your favorite food or you'd like to play a certain game. And in that sense, serotonin is a neurotransmitter which is responsible for many things, like, for example, your mood, your memory, and your sleep. So, neurotransmitters, they work through neurons. What are neurons? Neurons are the cells of the nervous system. It's how I know that I'm currently hungry right now, my foot hurts, and I have a headache, even though my foot's down here and my head's up here. The neuron has many different parts, but the most important parts for our talk here about SSRIs are the dendrites and the axon terminal. The dendrites are how neurons are able to receive messages from other neurons in the nervous system. And the axon terminal is where the neuron is able to send messages out. For example, if two neurons are close enough to each other, and one has the serotonin and the other one will be the one receiving the serotonin, the axon terminal of our neuron, which we'll call our presynaptic neuron, will release the serotonin into what is called the synaptic cleft. The synaptic cleft is the space between two neurons. Neurons get very close together, but they don't touch. And this space, again, is called the synaptic cleft. So from the axon terminal, it would release serotonin into this synaptic cleft. And then from the synaptic cleft, the postsynaptic neuron, with its dendrites, should be able to pick up the serotonin and regulate the body. But this is where the problem comes about, because serotonin doesn't just hang out in the synaptic cleft. There are many things your body does to get rid of neurotransmitters once that presynaptic cell is done signaling. For example, it'll take back up the serotonin. So now that the body's like, okay, enough serotonin is done here, in our synaptic cleft, it'll take away the rest of the serotonin. But now our postsynaptic neuron here doesn't have enough serotonin. And now this is one of the theories as to why people have clinical depression, that the neurons aren't receiving enough serotonin in the body. So now we're back with what SSRIs are supposed to do. once we have that serotonin hanging out in our synaptic cleft, it prevents our presynaptic cell, the one that put the serotonin in the cleft, from taking it back up. By having more serotonin hanging out in this cleft, it allows for more time for our postsynaptic cell to uptake the serotonin, transmit to other neurons, and have more serotonin hanging out in the body, which again will improve mood, appetite, and sleep. However, a big reason why people can be skeptical of SSRIs is, why does it take 4 to 6 weeks to work, which is pretty understandable, right? I just said that if you take the pill, it should work like by increasing the serotonin level, so shouldn't you automatically be happy? Unfortunately, it doesn't work instantaneously for a lot of people. The main reason why is because your body currently is not adapted to be able to receive that much serotonin. So that 4 to 6 weeks usually is your body, increasing its sensitivity to serotonin. For example, more receptors on our postsynaptic cell to be able to receive the serotonin, actually use the serotonin. The reason why people might be skeptical when it comes to talks of SSRIs is that they themselves have tried it. Me too. I remember I tried Prozac, didn't like it, and Lexapro worked for me for a bit. But for some people, there's so many SSRIs and none of them work. So that's so understandable to be skeptical of that. And that's where we have a bit of a gap in the research. This is a prevailing theory when it comes to depression, that it's due to lower levels of serotonin, again, hanging out in that synaptic cleft. But we don't know the exact mechanisms of serotonin. We don't know why some people don't respond as well or respond at all to these drugs. We don't know how these drugs can work for somebody with multiple different mental health issues at the same time. With that being said, however, both in the research and anecdotally, these drugs have worked and done wonders for people who have really been struggling. Even if it doesn't solve the whole picture, it's a huge piece for a lot of people. So I don't want us to discredit that, especially as we're trying to continue and figure out what exactly it does. Lastly, I want to address the misconception about these drugs being the easy way out. Just as you wouldn't tell someone with asthma to outrun the asthma, you can't tell someone to get over a chemical imbalance in their brain. The reason why I told that story about my mom in the beginning is because my mom would never do anything to hurt me intentionally. But a lot of people don't have the knowledge of what these drugs actually do. And plus, you can't see like the serotonin levels in my head and know that they're low or up or whatever they are. So that adds a bit of mystery to the whole thing too. So I'm hoping now that you're armed with a bit more knowledge, understanding, and security in the drugs that you might be taking, somebody you know might be taking, or just a bit more knowledge in general. So thank you.